Alright, what's going on today, YouTube? Welcome back to your favorite cyclist YouTube channel. This week, well, we're doing a video you guys have asked for, and that's comparing the Poseidon X Gen 3 with the Poseidon Redwood. But before we get into today's video, if you are new to my channel, make sure you head down below, hit that subscribe button for me. If you already are subscribed, make sure you hit that bell icon right next to that. That way you get notified every time I upload. That way you don't miss any of this awesome cycling content on this channel. So like I said, today we are comparing the Poseidon X Gen 3 with the Poseidon Redwood. Now, as of filming this right now, this is kind of the old generation of the Poseidon Redwood. Right now, Poseidon is working on a new generation for the Redwood, but I figure there are plenty of Poseidon Redwoods out, and people continue to ask me about them. That, hey, let's talk about the little bit older Redwood and then the brand new X here. So for the bikes here, this is my brand new Poseidon X Gen 3. Pretty close to what you would see in a stock Gen 3 other than swapping the tires out. So pretty close to what you would see just out of the box. Now my Poseidon Redwood on the other hand has been pretty heavily modified from the original Poseidon Redwood you would get. So pretty much with the Poseidon Redwood, we're mainly going to be talking component spec, how you get it out of the box, and then we'll talk about riding feeling of course, just the original Redwood from there. So let's talk some similarities here. So obviously they're both going to be considered gravel bikes. The Poseidon X I would consider more of your traditional gravel bike. Comes with 700cc wheels, kind of looks more the traditional gravel bike part. The Redwood, while I would still consider it in the gravel bike category, when you get it right out of the box, it has some 27.5 by 2.35 tires on there. Kind of some chunky mountain bike boys on there. And with that being the case, it kind of draws a stretching line between a gravel and kind of a drop bar mountain bike, in my opinion. So it's a little bit less of a gravel bike, but as you can tell, you can kind of make it into kind of whatever you want it to be is kind of the big deal there. Now, original setups on these come with pretty much the same set of drop bars here. The Redwood comes with the Advent X group set, versus the X comes with the Microshift Sword. It does still have an Advent X rear derailleur on there. Shows you how all that Advent X rear derailleur works because, well, this bike came with it and this bike still comes with it. It's a really nice derailleur system. Realistically, what you get for the swords is you kind of miss out on that whole cable coming through here for your rear derailleur. On the original Redwood, there is a cable that comes straight across here and drops down into the frame. So with the sword, it's nice and clean, hides under the bar tape. Don't really got to worry about that. Now, some people will say they like the sword shifters better. Some people say they like the Advent X shifters better. I personally like them both about the same. They don't really bug me that much. I kind of like the way the swords feel, maybe a little bit better. I feel like they're slightly more comfortable. I do have bigger hands if that makes any kind of difference. But personally, I like the sword a little bit better than the Advent X shifters. Gearing on these is exactly the same out of the box. You get the Advent X rear cassette on there, 10-speed, pretty much identical. They both come with 38 tooth chain rings on the front. So that's kind of where I would say the similarities kind of start to end and things get a little bit more specific on each bike. So let's talk about the Redwood first. Since the Redwood is the older of these two bikes, let's talk about the Redwood first, and then we'll talk about the X afterwards. So the Redwood, when I first reviewed this bike after riding it for a few months, I consider this the best do-it-all gravel bike you could buy. And to this day, I consider it still the best do-it-all bike you can get. And that's because with the Redwood, you can set this thing up however you want it to be. You have massive amounts of clearance. Like I said, this bike comes with 27.5 by 2.35 tires from the factory. That means it comes with mountain bike chunky boys right from the factory. However, you can see right now we're running a 650B by 45, and it fits in there great. Does it look a little different? Yes, but it works in the sense of a gravel bike itself. These bikes are also capable of going up to a 700C or even a 29er if you want to run kind of a big chunky boy mountain bike tire. You can run that on this bike, no problem. You can kind of set this bike up however you want it to be. Now, what are some of kind of the downfalls of the Redwood? So, with it being kind of one of Poseidon's first bikes, they've improved a lot since then. And we'll kind of talk about the improvements when they get to the X here. But this bike comes with regular old compression style brake housing. And it's not the greatest out there. If you watch some of my previous videos on this bike, we upgraded the compression housing pretty quick. Actually, no, we upgraded the compression housing about a year in and went to compressionless, and the braking feel was night and day. It was pretty ridiculous how much that braking feel improved when we made that difference there. So you do have the compression style housing. It's relatively simple to change over. You can check out my video on how to do that, but there's something that kind of holds it back a little bit. especially if you're going on some pretty intense downhills. You kind of want that braking power as best as you can get it for those mechanical brakes. You're also going to have just a standard square taper bottom bracket from the factory. Did I ever really have a problem with mine? Not really. I didn't have a problem with the square taper on mine. We just did an upgrade to the external bearing bottom bracket to get a little bit more performance out of the bike. So you do have square taper from the factory. Along with that, you are going to have a full aluminum frame as well as an aluminum fork out of the box. Nothing wrong with that. I will say a carbon fork does add some vibration dampening, but with the way this bike is built and that it's kind of made to do whatever, go anywhere, do whatever kind of bike, the aluminum fork makes a lot of sense. And that kind of leads me into my next thing, is that the Redwood I would consider much more of a stable bike than the X. The Redwood, just the way it's positioned, it's on 650B tires, and the way the frame geometry is kind of set, it sits a little bit lower to the ground is what I feel like. And with that, its stability is kind of unmatched. It handles like you would consider a mountain bike. Is really the best way I can word that. Handles like a mountain bike while having, gravel bike features to it. And it makes it very nice to ride in pretty much every condition you could think of. Whether that's single track, pavement, gravel trails, massive downhills, uphills. It just does a great job wherever it goes. And that's one of my favorite things about this. And with that, it comes with all these different mounts on there that you can mount bags onto or mount all sorts of things. So you can go off and go bikepacking, go places, go trekking, carry all your stuff with you. And with that little bit lower center of gravity feel to it, it's going to be a little bit more stable while you're out there versus kind of your standard gravel bikes would be. So the Poseidon Redwood, really kind of solid bike for especially its age. If you're looking to kind of get stability, if stability and multi-purpose bike is kind of in the name of the game, the Redwood is a great choice for you. So let's talk about the X now. So onto the X here. So this is the Generation 3X. So I believe the X has actually been around longer than the Redwood by a short little bit. And that was the Gen 1, Gen 2, now we're on to Gen 3 here. So biggest thing with the X is this is probably the best example of a company listening to its consumers and upgrading the bike for you just out of the box. So it already has the things you would do to it to upgrade a base bike anyways. So this bike has compressionless brake housing from the factory. Makes the brakes feel amazing right out of the box. Hard to beat that. Through axles, as well as a carbon fork out of the box. So aluminum frame, carbon fork. Like I mentioned with the Redwood, the carbon fork makes a big difference, just vibration dampening. So it comes with that carbon fork right out of the box. Also, this bike comes with a external bearing bottom bracket, again, right out of the box. Something that their users were upgrading anyways. They just put it on there right out of the box and made it so it's nice and solid down through the bottom bracket. And ultimately, they kind of built up from that first version to this one here and kind of made a really solid bike out of it. Now, the X is very much, I would consider, your traditional gravel bike styling and fit to it. So, it comes with 700C wheels on here. The original tires it comes with, very nice and grippy tires. Nice Continental tires. I love those tires. Honestly, if I wasn't testing out a bunch of tires, I'd probably still be running those tires on this bike. With that more traditional gravel bike feel to it, it does feel a little bit higher than the Redwood does, just because of that feel to it. The frame geometry fits a little bit taller. Feels kind of along the lines of like you'd consider a road bike geometry to be, just with knobbier tires. Kind of my theory of that. However, the X, I would say, is a little bit more comfort driven than a road bike, than their Triton. And we'll talk about that in a full different video. We'll compare the X and the Triton together. So for me with the X with the 700C wheels, it is going to be the faster of the two. 700C wheels are just going to roll faster than the 650B. I've noticed that throughout my time riding the Redwood, that yeah, the 700C guys, they're gone. This bike rides much faster than the Redwood, and that has to do with the wheels, both the wheel size and the lightweight. This guy is like 22 pounds. The Redwood, I believe, is about 27, even with all of our upgrades. I believe right out of the box, it's like around 30 pounds. So it is quite a bit lighter. 8 pounds is 8 pounds. 8 pounds is a decent amount of weight off of the bike. So you do have that as a benefit with the X. Now, the X is not going to have as big of tire clearance as the Redwood. So the X here, you are limited to tire size. You're limited to essentially a 45 millimeter tire front and rear. So you are limited a bit on the tires. You can't go too big. So obviously you're not going to be around like a mountain bike tire or 29er. You're going to be kind of limited on tire size a little bit more. Now, could you downgrade to 650B wheels? Sure, you could downgrade to 650B wheels. However, you're really not going to gain a ton more clearance running the 650Bs. You're realistically going to be locked into that kind of 45 millimeter or less tire size on the X here. So with the X kind of being more of your traditional gravel bike, it has less mounting options than like the Redwood has. So the Gen 3, they got rid of the mounting options on the fork. There is no mounting options on the fork now. Part of that is, yeah, it's carbon fiber now. The other part is they found the people who bought the X weren't using the fork mounts. So took them off, cleaned it up, made it look really good. Along with that, there's less mounting options kind of on the rear of the bike versus the Redwood has quite a bit of options to mount kind of whatever you want to put on there. So like I was mentioning, it's more of your traditional gravel bike than, you know, a great backpacking bike or do everything kind of bike. So in my opinion, if you're kind of looking for a bike that is fast, good commuter, gets you out on the bike, gets you on any surface you want to go on, without having to change it out of the box, the X Gen 3 is kind of hard to beat. It is a great bike out of the box. I was recently asked what I would change on it, and there's honestly not that much I would change on it. The stuff I would change is very small in the grand scheme of things, and this bike comes ready to go out of the box without making any changes. It's just ready to rip without you having to do anything. So here's kind of my thoughts on the two and kind of some differences between the Redwood and the X Gen 3 here. So which one do I personally pick, and which one's the one that fits me the best? So the Redwood is really great at kind of everything. Like I said, it's great kind of do-it-all bike, does all sorts of things, and obviously with some upgrades on there, it makes it even better a bike than it was out of the box. The Gen 3X is, like I said, just ready to go. It's kind of hard to beat that. You pick up a bike and just ride it, and you don't have to change anything. It's kind of really hard to beat that on a bike, and faster is nicer. Faster is nicer. This thing for sure rolls a lot faster and gets up speed a lot faster than the Redwood does. However, I would still say the bike that I would pick 90% of the time is going to be the Redwood. The Redwood it just fits me the best, fits my riding style the best. The 650V wheels feel a little bit more playful for me, and the type of terrain and riding that I do, which has a good mixture of kind of single track and descents on it. I like the way the Redwood feels. It's just kind of customizable however you would want it to be. Not saying the X is bad. The X is a great bike and still something I ride very often. I still ride the X, but it just depends what I'm looking to do. If I'm looking for a faster ride to keep up with some people, doing cyclocross, doing kind of a race scenario, the X Gen 3 is the one I'm going to pick. If I'm just looking to get out and ride and have some fun on a bike and just mess around and have some fun, go out and ride and just mess around on a bike, the Redwood's the one I'm going to pick 9 times out of 10. So that's my thoughts on these two bikes. If you have your own opinions and thoughts, let me know in the comments section down below. Always love hearing what you guys have to say. There's going to be a link to the Poseidon X Gen 3 in the description down below. If you guys want to pick one up for yourselves, there's going to be a link down below. There's also going to be a link just to Poseidon Bike's website, so you can check out the X, the Triton, and hopefully very soon here, the new Redwood coming out here. If you guys enjoyed the video, or maybe you learned something new today, give this video a big thumbs up. Appreciate the support. Any comments or questions, let me know down in the comment section below. Love talking to you guys. Love answering questions you guys have. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching today.